We think acting is fake, is the opposite. For me, acting is truer than life. Yeah, right from Kabir to Shri Aurobindo to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu or Ramakrishna, all these great saints, they were trying to take humanity away from that base emotion. Imagine that they say cutthroat competition. And imagine the metaphor, like cutthroat is so violent. I love you so much, and I'm saying I hate you. I can say, oh my God, I hate you. I really hate you, man.
Hello, everyone. This is Shubhadeep from Team Filmkopath. Welcome to Filmkopath Interviews. Today, we have with us one of the finest and most versatile actors in Indian cinema. An actor who has worked in mainstream Bollywood, Hollywood, French, Norwegian, and multiple Indian regional languages. A national award winning actor who had his beginnings in theatre at the prestigious National School of Drama, where he has been teaching acting as well. He has also got the Best Actor National Award in Norway for the wonderful film What Will People Say. Recently, we saw his excellent performance in the movie Pareeksha also. Hailing from the beautiful state of Assam, we have with us Mr. Adil Hussain. Adil sir, we are extremely humbled that you were able to take the time out of your busy schedule to interact with us at such a short notice.
Subhadeep, I'm very, very honored, happy, privileged that whatever superlative adjectives you had sort of attributed to me, I just feel that I just act and I love acting. And I'm one of the luckiest actors in India who had been offered so many roles. I don't know why, but I feel I'm very lucky to do that. And it is also very overwhelming that people had been responding so well from different parts of the country and the world with the scripts that I get. And I only choose those scripts which come to me. I don't have a scout who look out for scripts. So I'm sure that so many people don't even think of me uh, while they write the script. So I'm being rejected. I don't even know that I'm being rejected
That I
because they
don't think
don't
that
even think of
happens.
me. No, no,
I
no.
don't think that can happen, sir, with you at least.
I'm very
uh,
happy to talk to you.
thank,
Filmkopath, I love the name.
thank you so much, sir. It's an absolute honor. So it's an absolute honor to be interacting with you.
Pleasure.
As I mentioned, we have Arup with us from Team Filmkopath, who will be co-hosting this interview, or rather
Yeah.
discussion. And we have also all the fans who have joined from all over the world. Arup, why don't you start with the first question?
Thanks, Shubhadeep. Thank you again, Adil sir, for giving us this opportunity to directly interact with you. Such a pleasure for
Sure.
all of us. Maybe we start with Pareeksha, one of the most fascinating performances we had this year. Uh, Tell us, sir, how did you prepare for this role? This role has so many shades. It must not have been easy to play Buchi Paswan.
Well, I don't think any role is easy to play if it is away from your personality and from the kind of, emotional traits or social status that one is, used to. But that's always difficult. But even more difficult is to be able to go deeper into the truth of the given circumstances laid out by the writer and the demanded or desired or required by the director. It's always difficult to be truthful. And when I say truthful, what I mean is that truth is multi-layered, it's multi-dimensional, and truth always is about the now. About the only constant is that it keeps changing, and the change happens, and one has to behave like a dream catcher to be able to catch it while being in the now. And now is so elusive that all the great rishis and munis and mystics all across the globe trying to sort of be in the now. And most of the humanity, I guess 99.999% of the humanity, either they live in the future or the past. It's very, very difficult to be in the now. And that's the crux of any creative form to express oneself, consolidating, fortifying oneself in the now. So that part is always would be difficult for anybody because there is no depth, there is no end of the depth of the now. So that's what keeps me on my toes, to be able to like really dig into the now. And is this what I'm feeling right now? Is this what I'm actually feeling right now? Or is this my mask, or is this my official self that I'm trying to present in front of the audience? And Buchi Paswan is not very far from my experiences, because I grew up in a very small little town where the only transportation system were rickshaws. And one of my neighbors who rented out a small little hut in their courtyard to a rickshaw puller, whose name was Nur Muhammad Bhai, and he used to give me free rides sometimes to the market and to the school. And I still remember the smell of the sweat, and the color from the back. Mostly the wind blows through the person into the person who is sitting behind. So I still remember all that very vividly. And I used to also go with him to the cycle mechanic shop to repair his rickshaws, and would observe how the cycle mechanic would repair the rickshaws, what are the parts, and they used to use these English words, for example, crankshaft. No, crankshaft. I was, what is crank? So it's crankshaft, which I, all that. And so it was not very, very difficult. But at the same time, as I said, that to be able to be, to be truthful, wholesomely truthful, not only just truthful, but
I mean, dream
yeah.
catcher, we'll remember that term. So nicely put. Maybe if we talk about your NSD days, sir, I mean, we have heard you say in other interviews that language barrier was a problem for you initially. We have also heard this story about you wandering in a motorbike, just for interacting with people around from all spheres of life. And that was supposed to be a lesson in acting for you. So if you can talk about those days, sir, your formative years.
Yeah. Well, I graduated from NSD in '93, and one of my teachers, his name is Khalid Tayyib, one of my most revered and respected teachers. He taught me in NSD in the first years. The first day, first session was his. And he never talked in the class. It was physical theater. So he was trying to lead us from the body to the spirit. So it is called exactitude of the form. So if you can catch the form of anything or anybody, you may be able to sort of perceive or experience the spirit. So that was his approach to acting. And I graduated, then I got a scholarship to study acting in England, in the UK, in London, in a school called Drama Studio London. I finished that, but I still felt that I know very little about acting, and I was pretty almost scared to perform in front of the audience, because I thought, unless I've cooked well, I don't have the right to invite people to come and eat. Mm-hmm. So I saw his performance after I went back from England. I saw his performance called The Fool Song, Gadha Gan in Hindi. And I was blown away. He performed around 30 characters without changing anything from outside, I mean, in costume or anything. He was bare-bodied, small little langot, like the way the tribals would wear, a string and a loincloth, which he has sort of wrapped around his waist. And he performed, he portrayed the Indian landscape of different kinds of people, like from the cabaret dancer to the politicians, to the dada, and fake babas, and corporate people. So and he changed in something which is from inside, and I was fascinated that. So my idea of acting completely changed, and I went up to him. I said, I would like to learn the craft that you use. So he said, oh, I would like to act with you as well. How much money do you have? I said, I have 100 rupees, So, and he was like, okay, that's great, but I would like you to have 100,000 rupees. And I would like you to also have an Enfield motorbike, which we call Bullet in India.
Mhm.
I was like, okay. Then he reminded, this money that I'm asking you to have, 100,000, is not to pay me, but to look after yourself, so that we can, go somewhere, and I don't need to pay you and teach you at the same time. I was like, yeah, I get that. So, so my, the strategic mind started working. How do I get this money? I can't. My father retired, so there's no way. I'm from a very, very lower middle class family. My father was a teacher. He retired already, and I didn't have any rich friends who I can borrow money from. So I joined the commercial theater in Assam called Mobile Theater. There were around 5 or 6 A grade mobile theater, and I joined and I performed every day for 9 months, and I earned 160,000 rupees. And I bought a motorbike, and I came and joined him. I came to Delhi, and I called him. Those days, no mobile phones or anything. I called him on his landline, and he didn't pick up the phone. So his brother said that he is in some jungle in Madhya Pradesh, in Basta, nowadays in Chhattisgarh, of course. So I was like, okay, any address? So yeah, the address of the village, that's it. So I started riding my bike from Delhi to Madhya Pradesh, and I found him eventually, completely drunk, and lying on the mud, in the mud, and having fun. So I was shocked to my core, like, this is the teacher who's going to teach me. Then he looked at me, smiled, and he said, come on, join in. So it started there. And I had no idea what he was doing. So later, so we lived there in the tribal village. Then we hiked to a tribal village where, till then, it was 1995 June. Till then, they haven't seen money or buses or cars or or matchboxes or nothing. Like, it was sort of, since 5,000 years, they were like that. It's like stuck in time and space. And I didn't understand a single word they spoke. But one of my friends, one of my teacher's friend, Khalid's friends, he knew the language. He stayed. He's a botanist, and he stayed with them. He lived with them for 15 years, so he knew the language. So that, as I said, it's a long story, so I'm cutting it short. So like that, we traveled across from like metro, urban, semi-urban, village, and these kind of villages which are away from so-called civilization that we are so proud of. We should be proud of, but not as much as if I were to be born there, I'd be more proud of that civilization where I went and lived, because their idea of living is way more modern and more scientific, not the way that we understand science, than any of us can ever imagine. Their idea of ecology, the idea of justice and social system and hierarchy, male, female are equally treated. And there's no question of division, there's no caste. So it's, it's way more modern than Europe. In the most civilized Europe, the like Scandinavian part I'm talking about.
Yep.
So yeah, so it went on from there to, then we crisscrossed the country for almost over 1.5 years. And later I realized that it has sort of introduced me to the Indian milieu, the Indians, and I fell in love with India after that. Before that, I always thought, okay, I'll be somewhere in England, or in the UK, do theater and earn money or whatever. But I just fell in love with that. And I think Indians have no clue. Most of the Indians have no clue what these people are,
Other
made
India.
of. The other India, we are busy with Metro India
Yeah.
and modernizing India and the idea of modernization, the idea of progress, the idea of, uh, what life is all about, what good life is all about. It's such a tragedy that we did not access the wisdom that they have to sort of enrich ourselves in order to become true leader of the world in a way. I'm not saying we have to be the leader. We don't need to be a leader. We can just be ourselves. But there is this tendency of like, oh, let's be the leader of India and our world and blah, blah, blah. But the way that we could actually have progressed in retaining and sustaining the ecology and the environment and the wisdom that we have. So yes, the long answer to a short question that my teacher on our motorbikes, introduced me to I was reborn after that trip. That, okay, I don't need to become famous. I don't need to even earn money. I can just live there because they don't have any system. There's no money there. So, you can just live there and you get your own food. You go to the jungle, get your own food, and you live, and so happily.
Maybe
I
that is
can
the
go on.
insight. That is the insight we get from the characters you play.
Yeah, of course, it is there within me. So it will definitely, it will be seen if I am being vulnerable. Yes, it will be seen. It's there. So nobody can take it away.
And you also had Nasiruddin Shah as your teacher, sir. So we all know the
Yeah.
actor. How is Nasir the teacher?
He's extremely passionate, very short-tempered, but he loves his students. He is so meticulous with his craft and the way that he wants his students to understand and to sort of take them away from so-called acting, which we call, like in generally, when we guys talk, we say, don't act, yaar, kya kar rahe ho? Don't do drama, So we think acting is fake. Is the opposite. For me, acting is truer than life. So because we live more intensely, more concentrated, more focused, more attentive, more alert when we act in a given circumstances. And those qualities, what I just said, they spill over and also enrich my everyday life. I'm more focused, more concentrated. So in everyday life, I have the luxury to be unattentive or say something what I don't mean at all. Like, for example, if I say, "Hey, good morning," so that's not saying good morning. That I'm saying, "What the hell are you doing here?" That's basically I'm saying that. Or "I love you so much," and I'm saying I hate you. I can say, "Oh my God, I hate you. I really hate you, man." You're not saying I hate you. You're saying basically I like you.
Yeah.
So we can live with more vibrancy and the intensity of living in a given circumstance is way more than in everyday life. Even if I have to mean when I say I love you, if I have to mean I hate you, I have to do it deliberately and I have to marry it with spontaneity in a given circumstance. So I think Nasiruddin Shah was trying to teach us that you don't act, you behave, taking into consideration of all the given circumstances, all the 5 W's: who, where, why, when, and what. And there is one more, it's called want. What do you want? By saying, what is your want in the scene? What is your super objective? And all those are sort of these ideas were sort of explored to a great extent by this Russian amazing actor, director, methodologist. His name is Konstantin Stanislavski. So he is the father of modern acting. And then Lee Strasberg took it to America and, sort of adapted according to their requirement in the American film industry. And then there are other people. Anyways, so Nasiruddin Shah was one of the most passionate, most loving teacher who really believed in good acting. Yeah.
We wanted to ask you something about the overall medium of art, sir. We were doing this video essay a few weeks back, and we were kind of telling that, say you go to the caves in Bhimbetka in Madhya Pradesh, or you go to Ajanta Ellora, you kind of realize that even 10,000 years back, our ancestors thought art to be such an integral part of their lives. They did not have carved temples out of mountains, but they did. They painted on the high ceilings. Come today, art seems much more of a commodity, a luxury. Everything gets fulfilled and you think art, okay, now I can have some time for art, like an option. So how did this change? Is it money only? I mean, anything else? How do we restore this balance, sir?
See, most people, like people that I lived with in Chhattisgarh, in the village, they have no problem of tomorrow. They just live now. The idea of tomorrow and what will happen tomorrow, or basically the worry of tomorrow comes from in our understanding. When I say our, means in Indian mystical understanding, it arises from the mother emotion called fear. Fear gives birth to anger, frustration, jealousy, agitation, and what have you, all that. So the fear started playing the larger role. Of course, fear is very good for survival, that you preserve yourself. The flight and the fright, we call the base emotion, which is linked to the embedded tendency of human being, which we call instinct. That the fear, the tendency of survival, and a strong, intense tendency to procreate. These are the two main instinctive human qualities, elements that we have it, and that's how we behave. So now the idea of the Indian mystics, or even the shamans across the world, like even the South American shamanism or Indian mystics, you name anybody in India, right from Kabir to Shri Aurobindo to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu or Ramakrishna, all these great saints, they were trying to take humanity away from that base emotion towards the higher qualities, the compassion and love and empathy and all that. So the entire practice or the prescriptions that they gave you, since then, even from Gita, what Krishna is telling Arjuna as well, it doesn't matter whether it actually happened or not, but the wisdom is priceless. So don't operate from fear or hatred. Hatred also is a offspring of fear. So don't operate from there. Even if you have to kill somebody, kill from unconditional love, like a surgeon would operate on a patient to remove and to heal the person. So that, I think, the fear played a very important role, and in the artistic journey of humanity. If I have studied a little bit from cave painting to postmodernism in my work, and I realized that there were always for example, Raphael was a painter of he was the royal painter, and there was the other guy like Eklavya and Arjuna. The difference, this had been there. So it is not a recent phenomenon that art has been treated as commodity, or has been, there are this human tendency that who wants to become famous, and there are some people who just love art, just the intrinsic pleasure of practicing art. It had been there in the human, in the history of humanity since a long time. And now, of course, Industrial Revolution happened, and then after that, um, everything is commodified, and we live now in a market society. And I guess it is very difficult for anybody, forget about only artists, for anybody to go against this huge onslaught of constantly by the market instilled inside you regarding that. Okay, and imagine the insurance companies and the pharmaceutical companies and all they're thriving on on fear. They're feeding on fear. What is going to happen to you tomorrow? Now, the COVID-19? I keep saying I watch very little television, but I keep seeing what do you call that? The ads of only insurance companies. So they're trying to, is vulturism basically, mostly.
That's very true.
And art cannot be, and human beings are those those who practice art, they haven't landed from Mars, they are from here. And the kind of education system we had, imagine that they say cutthroat competition. And imagine the metaphor, like cutthroat is so violent, They teach you to become a go-getter. Like, how ridiculous is that, to say you have to, so you can grab from somebody else and you can take it for yourself. That's how we had been taught. So education system is devoid of wisdom. It's all about how to just survive. We don't need to have that anymore. I don't know if I made sense to you at all.
That was so enlightening, sir. Thank you so much. Coming back to your films, you have played so many characters, 75, 80 odd films, characters with so many shades. So does this character leave a mark even after you, sign off from a film, wrap up the shooting for a day? Does this character play a part in the psyche of the human being as an artist?
It used to, and that had been my fear, in fact, since I was offered a role in 1992 at the National School of Drama. I played Mephistopheles, Christopher Marlowe's, and I was very, very worried because I didn't know the roadmap to come out. I jumped in, I just fell into that darkness, and I had no way to, I didn't have the roadmap, as I said, to come out of it, to come to my so-called self, which wasn't Mephistopheles, So I became very worried, and that had been my search till 2000, when I met my teacher, my mentor, two people. One lives in Pondicherry, the other lives in New Delhi, who sort of gave me the tools to practice in order to have the courage to dive deep into my, the caves and crevices of my darkness. Each and every human being have those. And to be able to sort of not get smeared or tainted by those darkness, the qualities that we generally abhor, and to come out to a space which is lighter. In fact, nowadays is opposite happens. You go ahead and you dive deep into it, and then I come out lighter. So in a way, the answer to your question is yes and no. Yes, it leaves a mark, but in a positive way nowadays. Butchi Paswan also enriched my experience of that immense struggle, physical struggle as well, not only emotional struggle. He has to do that, physically, the sun and the weather and all that, and then constantly being humiliated, but because he's a nobody, we see through them. They don't exist for many of us. To be able to, well, I actually had faced it, because I used to, had my beard, and I'll take out my rickshaw and walk, and people will shout at me. The rickshaw, the policeman will shout at me. क्या कर रहे यार यार कहाँ खड़ा हूँ हाँ सर अभी निकल रहे हैं so one is so used to being humiliated it's they reduce themselves to zero they diminish as a person as a human being and that has a toll but still they are so humble still they look forward to life and what I feel
Absolutely.
they are an amazingly courageous man and we don't give a damn about them so yes it made me I think more humble more respectful to people those who open the door for you so yes it has enriched me a lot.
Okay, I think that's from my end. I will hand over to our co-creator Tampi for a few questions. Tampi, if you can take over. And thank you so much, sir. Thank you.
A pleasure Arup. हमें देखना है जापान का टेक्नोलॉजी इस्तेमाल करके strange education system that hasn't given us wisdom. It has given us skills, stupid skills, to survive. Somebody is shouting, the nation wants to know, and somebody is shouting back, and don't mess with me. I'm going to beat the hell out of everybody.